Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, 10 a.m. So your favorite hosts, Tim and Tim, are back. Good morning, Tim. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Not too bad. Gotta turn on my little light here. I noticed that my room's a little yellow behind me, huh?
Yeah,
Um,
well, it looks a little dark and gloomy over there today. Is it raining?
it is raining and 41 degrees.
Mm.
So
It's supposed to rain here too, but it's going to be like almost 70. So I'm cool with that.
no,
It's
no.
amazing we live in the
Uh,
same state, huh?
yeah, what, like 3 hours apart? 41 here, 70 there. I think the high here is supposed to be 47 today.
Oh boy. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm ready for summertime again. My boat
See, man,
my boat has
we're
been
in.
sitting on the trailer not getting used, and I am just I'm very, very unhappy that I have all this gas I need to go burn in it.
Hey, just get out there. I gotta be honest. I enjoy the cooler time of the year on the water. Less people out.
That's
It's,
fair.
you're not
Well, that
sweating.
we do
You're not
water
sweating like
Wednesdays.
crazy.
There's really nobody out on the water on Wednesdays in the summertime.
That you know what's funny is up here at Lake Norman, same thing, man. I know all these guys that live out on the lake, and they're like, and I complain about weekends on the lake, and they're like, we don't go out on the weekends. They're like,
Yeah.
they're like well, like you said, Wednesdays and Fridays. They love
Yeah.
going out on Fridays.
Yep. Yeah, Wednesdays and Fridays, that is typically been good for us too, so all right, let's get into it. So, this is an interesting topic that I thought we should just talk about. Tim and I, we've experienced some rapid growth this year, and forever grateful that we have. But let's talk about it real quick because the age old saying or the common saying that most people hear is that you should go as big as you can, as fast as you can. How do you feel about that?
No, I am. I'm never a fan of that. Quite honestly, because if you're not prepared for it, that's a good way to fail really, really fast as you can too. Um, but there's something to be said for rapid growth. And like you're talking about, we've experienced, especially this year. Into last year came on strong, and then that just
Mhm.
carried right over into this year. Um, but what happens, right, is little things fall to the wayside. Scaling up your team as quick as you need to. Processes get processes and documented processes get put to the side, and you just brute force your way through things, right? Which is all good, but it literally comes a time when you're like, okay, stop. We got to slow down. Take a couple of weeks, take a month, whatever you need. Let's tighten things up a little bit. And quite honestly, I think that's kind of where we're experiencing right now, right? Like you said, extremely grateful for the last 2 years. Extremely, man. But it's time to make sure that we kind of got all the I's dotted and T's crossed for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And going as big as you can, as fast as you can, is a great notion, and it provides kind of um, excitement or something to like kind of drive for something that's a force that keeps you wanting to continue to grow and buy bigger and bigger and bigger things. But there are some ancillary things that need to be taken care of that get put to the wayside if you are not careful. And I mean, we Tim and I, we practice full transparency here, and we're talking about where we failed. And we failed in terms of keeping our Dropbox thing completely organized. So, conversation that we had this week with our executive assistant, who is working on building a system and a process around naming conventions and checklists and what files go in what folder, and all of that stuff. Right, because Tim and I were constantly like, we know where everything is because we put it there. But if we try to tell anybody else where those things are, they're just like, I can't find anything. And ultimately, what we're doing is we're realizing that we needed this process before we had this growth, but we didn't really kind of spend any time on working on it because we were so focused on finding the next deal and finding more investors. And there's value there, and it's not the wrong thing to do, but we do realize, like, hey, we got to take a couple weeks off or a month off, and that's really what we're closing a deal today, and we're going to take basically through now and the end of the year to clean up all of the Dropbox folders, implement the system in the process, make sure we have all the documentation put together. and make sure all of our investor information is completely organized and finalized so we can send it to the CPA so we can get our K1 reports on time. Like all of these things are so incredibly necessary. And if you don't realize how much work actually goes into it, you're going to find yourself in a really bad spot come January and February when you're scrambling to put all this information together so that you can get your yearly tax returns and tax filings done.
Yeah, and you know, and here's one of the things. Here's one of the things. Thanks, Julie. Um, here's one of the things I would say. Sorry, I got a little distracted. And you know, we've kind of kept our eye on the most important ball, right? Which is making sure our properties are where they need to be. I mean,
Hmm.
end
Yeah.
of the day, that's the most important piece, right? The asset management part. And you know, so what I would say to folks is like we've scaled quickly. We've been working hard on our investor base. We've been working hard on our deal flow. And then once we get them under management, we work very, very diligently on making sure that they're performing, right? And you know, it's all the internal stuff, right? That you got to kind of take a second and say, wait a minute, if we keep doing this, we'll get to a point where these three things that I just mentioned won't work
That's right.
because we're so disorganized inside internally, right? So, you know, this is just a really good time to say, wait a second, hold up one second. You know, let's focus on what we got under management and keep that performing. And then to instead of like chasing the next deal for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, something like that, let's focus on these processes and documentation within the company itself. And you know, those will just allow us to scale that much faster. But you know, where this comes from, and Tim, we just came from an event, right, a couple of weeks ago, and when you get at these big events, the conversation always comes to, you know, how many units do you have, or
Oh yeah.
how much this or how much that, and nobody ever talks about like, well, how many units do you have, and how's it going, right?
Mhm.
That's never the. It's always kind of this size, scale, judgment, you know, kind of competition, right? And you know, for instance, I saw a group last year that went from zero to like 1,600 units in less than 6 months, and I look at that and I'm like, wow, like that's concerning to me, because I see what we're doing and where we are. We're not at 1,600 units, guys. And, you know, I'm kind of like, how did you go from zero to 1,600 in 6 months? And how did you scale that? Right. Like either you're doing it really well and you had your shit in order before you started, or maybe you just focused on gathering units and now you're completely underwater. So I would,
Yeah. One of
always
the guys
curious
that
about
comes
that.
to mind when you're saying that is Vince Gettings. Like the guy is amazing when it comes to,
Oh, yeah.
processes and systems and all that other kind of stuff. So if anybody told me that he was prepared to do that, it would be Vince. Not to
Yeah.
mention, hey, simple plug here. Vince is going to be at our Porsche event this weekend, so come talk with him there. But he's probably the only person that I could sit there square in the face and say, I've had all of this stuff already developed before I started buying property. I would believe him.
Oh yeah, 100%. Man, it's funny you mentioned that. When at that same event, we all went to dinner, right? And I was sitting beside Vince, and
Yeah.
Vince was talking to somebody on his left, Chris Beatty, who will also be at our event this weekend. But they were talking, and I was catching bits and pieces of it, and I saw what he was showing, and man, my head was just like, "Whoa!" I mean, I
Dude,
come
they
from a
talked
techno.
for 2 hours straight about Vincent. Like, they had their own thing going on at the other end of the table. They just went off on process and systems and hiring people and having the right people in the right places to do things for you. It was rather remarkable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And man, it was just I was my I come from a technology background, and to see what Vince had done, it was really cool. Like I think, in full disclosure, guys, we came back and I talked to Vitali here, and I was like, I think we need to go find events.
We do need events.
I was like, I think we need to go find events because, like, I can do boots on the ground stuff, folks. I can kind of see the business plan and stuff like that. Vitali's amazing at the underwriting and kind of keeping us on track with finances and things like that. But it's that data analytics piece and tracking to those KPIs. Like Tim and I do that, and we do it pretty well. But Vince takes it to a whole nother level.
A whole
Um,
nother level. And we're
yeah,
not saying that we don't. have all of our documents and that we don't keep track of all our information. We just don't do it as well as other people and how big organizations do. And we're realizing that. So we're making adjustments now so that we don't, like this Facebook user saying, reach a tipping point where the growth kills us. Like we're realizing that now and making sure that we're implementing the things that we need in order to make sure that that doesn't happen. So we have all the stuff. And ultimately, what we're thinking about here is like, okay, as we start to hire people, um, are they going to be able to come in and look at what we have and replicate it? And the answer right now is absolutely not. So, like, even the conversation we had with Kathy this week was, she was trying to figure out what to put in where, and she was looking at all the different folders. And I was like, look, Kathy, at the end of the day, don't look at whatever we have organized here. Go create these folders and put whatever documents you can into those folders using the check boxes that we created. And then anything else that's not in there, Tim and I will handle. We'll make sure that we either find the documents because we have them, or and put them in the right folder, or reach out to the person that does have them. And it was really that realization that we had. We had our call yesterday with her, and it was like that realization of, oh yeah, like we have everything, but there's no naming conventions. Like everything's named everything a little bit differently. So we have to get control of these documents so that it makes our life easier. Like the mental stress that you go through when you're trying to find a document in your folder should not even exist, but it's there currently because we don't have standardized naming conventions. So, that is something that we're openly working on, and we're going to give, whatever process that Kathy creates, we're going to give that to our coaching students because, they deserve it. They earned it, right? So they can organize their stuff and have it organized the same exact way. So, growing quickly is a good thing, right? Because you're going to make money, you're going to fail fast, right? But it's also being able to take a step back and realize what you're doing that's wrong and implementing change to fix it before it gets out of hand.
Yeah, yeah, completely agree. And Julie, really good point. I agree with you here. Vitaly and I actually operate off this. Like, what we're really talking about, folks, is we need to go find a couple of who's, right? Like,
Absolutely.
you guys are familiar with the book, Who Not How. What we're really talking about is finding who's. Tim and I know what we're good at. We've been successful with what we're good at, and now it's time to go find a couple of who's that can help us, take it to the next level. And it really goes back to, exactly what Tim put up there a minute ago, right? It's exactly right. Like when tech companies get to a certain point, they know they need to go get, the VC connection isn't just about funding and capital. It's about access to expertise too. That's a big part of that. And when you're at that point, it's a big deal to go grab that, because you'll see a lot of technology companies when they go out there looking for funding, they're not just looking for cash. They want to see who's bringing that cash and what they're also providing outside of the cash. If
Ancillary benefits.
yeah, exactly. I mean, on a simpler level, if you've ever watched Shark Tank, right? It's like, why do they pick one shark over the other, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
sometimes it's the background that the shark brings. If you want to hit you want to take your product to a high volume customer base, you probably go with the lady who started QVC. I forget her name, but
Is it Barbara? That's not Barbara Cochran.
yeah,
No,
it's
she's a
the
real
other one.
estate person.
Yeah, I
What
think
is
it's
the
the
other
other one.
guy? Whatever. But yeah, I was thinking of the difference between Mr. Wonderful and Mark Cuban. If you create a sports related product, you're probably going to go with Mark Cuban because of his connections with the Mavericks and all that other kind of stuff. But if you create something that's more of uh, like a infomercial type of sale, like you want to go with Mr. Wonderful. Like he specializes in that kind of stuff and Walmart product placements and things.
Yeah, if you're looking for a royalty deal,
A royalty deal. Yeah, there you go.
Mr.
Oh,
Wonderful,
it's
right?
Lori G. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's who we were thinking of. Lori G.
Yeah. So,
Um,
that's just kind of what we're talking about, right? Like we need to go find some of that. And it's real easy to get out over your skis, if you're not careful. And then what happens when you do that? You end up taking a nice face plant. So, it's just a good time to set back and step back and kind of look at where you are and what you need to be successful moving forward. And hey, guess what? Great time of year for this to happen, right? Because we're 2023 planning, 2023 goal setting. So this is a really good time to sit back and go, all right, what do we want 23 to look like? What do we need to adjust now or add now or whatever to get there? So
Yeah.
that's really kind of what this is, what's going on now.
Yeah, I can't wait for, the end of December when, I still got my goals written right here, and it's on my desk every single day. So we'll go through, we'll kind of do a recap of our 2022 goals and what are setting our 2023 goals for. So stay tuned for that. That'll be a good one. Just because we like to provide the transparency. Like, what does it actually look like to to be a multifamily syndicator? Somebody that's in the real estate professional world that does this full time, that's not moonlighting. Like, what do our goals look like? What are we trying to achieve and accomplish? What are we learning about as we go? Where are we failing and what are we implementing? And that's ultimately why we do this show. This is why we talk about these things openly, because I don't feel like there's enough transparency in the multifamily space. I feel like social media is a facade of everything is wonderful, but it's not always wonderful. And if you believe that it is, you're going to set yourself up for failure because it's not all wonderful. And when it gets tough, you got to know who's going to stick by your side and follow through and get the shit done versus the people that are just being like, well, this is difficult. I'm going to go back to what I'm good at. That's easy for me. That I'm going to go make money for, make
Nah,
money with.
nah, I don't. I gotta be honest, man. I don't know about you, but when things get difficult, I'm kind of like, challenge accepted, right? Like, let's figure that out.
Man, I
Uh,
have to say we have some heated conversations when we're both stressed out about like closings and um all not just close. There's a lot more there besides just closings, but we get some heated conversations and I know that sometimes I'm just like, Tim, I'm done talking about this tonight and I'm going to go play video games or stare at the idiot box on YouTube because I can't think about this anymore. And then literally like I'll get a text from Tim at like 6:30 the next morning like, "You know what? Fuck yesterday. Yesterday sucked. Like these are just problems. We'll figure it out." And it always is. That's always true. We always figure out a solution to the problem. But when you look back on it, sometimes it's like, wow, I can't believe we were that stressed out about something that was so easy to fix. But when you're going through it and you're fighting a deadline and you've got shelf pressure to perform, there's a lot of pressure and stress that happens there. And it's not just us, it happens to everybody. So if they tell you that that everything is easy peasy, lemon squeezy, then I would call bullshit on that in a second.
no, and you're absolutely right. And guys, that's a really good reason why it's huge to have good partners that you can be honest with. Like even yesterday, we're going through a closing right now. Closing's pretty stressful. But even yesterday, one of the guys we work with kind of threw something out that was a little bit of like, in my opinion, was a little bit kind of like not a good time for this.
Yeah.
I need you to focus. I need you to focus, and I need you to do this and this, right? We can take jabs at each other when we're not under a deadline like this. But if like Tim's talking about, if you saw the text string that came from that, you'd probably be like, "Whoa, I didn't know Tim talk like that."
Yeah, it was like, whoa, whoa, somebody just struck a nerve. Uh-oh.
But like Tim said, like you take a few minutes, you kind of work through it, and then the next day it's like, all right, you know what? We got four problems in front of us. Pick one, solve it, move to the next one, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And
and
it's
that's
honestly, it's prioritizing those 4 problems. Like, because I know how easy it is to get lost on social media and doing things that aren't important. It's very, very easy to get distracted about that kind of stuff, and not focus on the urgent and the important. And sometimes you need a little kick in the ass to say, "Oh, you're focusing on the wrong thing. You need to be focusing on this stuff. Go get it done."
Yeah, man, I love that you said that because I literally have something taped right here on one of my monitors. And I look at it. I probably look at it at least once a week, and it just says, if it doesn't give you peace, profits, or purpose, then don't give it your time or energy.
Ah, the
Um,
great piece.
yeah, oh yeah, I like it. But every now and then I just have to look at it, and I'm like, does this give me peace, profits, or purpose? And I'm like, nope. Guess what? I'm going to put it to the side.
Delete.
Yeah, and sometimes it really just comes down to something that simple, guys.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
man. That's funny.
Yeah. So, and then, hey, full transparency. Every now and then, Tim and I have this conversation. I'm like, "Are you having fun?" And he's like, "No." I'm like,
This isn't what I signed up for.
and I'm like, "I'm not having fun either, man. Let's fix that."
Let's fix that. Yeah, I was like, this isn't what I signed up for. I mean, I had a we Danielle and I we went to the beach on Saturday, and was texting you, and I was just like, I hadn't been outside in a week. That's sad. That's really bad. I went to the gym, but I didn't really count that as outside because you're working out inside. But I was like, I have not gone outside and left the house in a week. I've just been in this room working and on the phone all day, like 12, 14 hours a day. And it was just like, that's got to change. Something's got to change because this isn't what I designed my life to be around. And it comes with part of the the territory of the growth and the scale that we've had. But that's why we've put the brakes on acquisitions and we're like, hey, let's focus on this stuff now. Let's get it situated and organized. We'll be prepared for 2023. We got time. We don't need to buy anything. We'll continue to watch the debt markets. We'll continue to work with our property management company and construction companies to make sure that our renovations are on schedule and on budget and we're meeting our business plans and stuff like that. And we're talking about refinances. Like we have enough on our plate that we don't need to go out and
Ooh,
get another deal.
ooh, I love
Ooh.
this one.
Ooh,
I
that's a good
love
one.
that. Slowing down to speed up. I love that.
That's
I
right.
love that phrase. Love that phrase. I'm gonna steal it from you because I haven't heard it before.
Yeah,
Um,
who's Facebook user here? Come on, oh, you know what? Somebody told me that StreamYard doesn't post the link anymore at the top in order to like give permission so that it'll show their name. So I have to put that in there. But
yeah,
Michael, yeah, great saying. I'm assuming Tim Vest with his peace, profits, or purpose. So yeah, thanks, Julie. Yeah, looking forward to finally meeting you in person. That's for sure.
yeah.
And Jay
And
on
guys,
TV. Oh, go ahead.
no. Go ahead.
I was going to say thanks. I appreciate your support as well. Congrats on that new job that you got. And Vince's last name is Gethings.
Yeah, great guy. And Julie, yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing you guys. I'm writing slowing down to speed up. Um, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys this weekend. And speaking of doing things for 2023, kind of slowing down and stuff like that. Like that was one of the things that I kind of recognized. You're talking about working 14-hour days and not seeing the sun and that kind of thing. It's like I need to focus more on getting back out there some. I've been so focused on acquisitions and closing and stuff, man. It's like I need to get back out there in front of people more, right? Like that's just and I think MM5 was kind of a reminder of that. That one was a little over the top, 1,200 people there. By the end of Friday night, your voice is already going hoarse, and you got 2 more days to go. But I'm really looking forward to this weekend and like this group of 20, 22 people. I'm really looking forward to like 2 days with all these folks.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
yeah,
And hey, we have one ticket left, just one. So if you want to attend this event Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning in Atlanta, come hang out with all of us. We got one ticket left. It's $3,000. You're going to come hang out with awesome people, be connected with some serious hitters in the room, and we're going to go do a bucket list experience. Like I don't know many people that have like go ask any of your neighbors if they've driven a race car around a racetrack. The answer is going to be no. So, that's why we designed this event and why I decided to do it this way was because I wanted to have fun. I want to generate genuine relationships and I want to create memories. And how better to do that with experiencing like a bucket list item together. And it's one of the things like Tim and I are both part of GoBundance, the GoBundance mastermind. And that's one thing that they preach about is, creating memories and doing bucket list items together. And that's really going to build a stronger bond than anyone. You go to these conferences like we were just talking about and you're going to meet a lot of people and shake a lot of hands and they're cordial associates at the end of the day, but the people that you can rely on are going to be the ones that are in that small room that you spent a week on spent a
yeah,
weekend with.
yeah. Completely agree. So,
Oh, that was
guys,
John Crutchfield. Yeah.
thank you, John, and thank you, Dennis, for letting us know that.
Yeah.
Um, like Tim said, unfortunately, we can't see that information from here on the Streamyard dashboard. But yeah, thanks for throwing that out there.
Yeah.
What else, man?
Man, so scaling too quickly. Like, we talked about how we screwed up. We talked about how we're slowing down to speed up, which I love that saying as well. We talked about some changes and blah, 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 things that we're doing to change that. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of running a blank. I mean, I don't really have anything else to talk about that. I mean, because I don't think it's that controversial of a subject. I think it's just more of a statement of what we've experienced recently. So
Yeah, and guys, I appreciate all the thanks for the transparency and stuff, and that's huge, right? Like I think that's huge with folks. You know, I've been having multiple conversations with guys lately, and they're like, "How do I go talk to this person? You know, what should I say?" And I'm like, "Just put it out there. Like,
put it out
just
there.
tell them where, just tell them where you are. Tell them what you're struggling with, and you know, for instance, you know, Tim and I've done a deal this year, and we're going to do a deal with this guy again early next year. But one of the biggest things from doing that deal is the deal was kind of hitting a roadblock. We were hitting a pretty bad speed bump. And I just met him and sat down and just threw it out there. I was like, this is where we are. He helped me solve that problem. Sometimes when you're just willing to be transparent and throw it out there, people will help you work through it.
That's right.
And you know what? If in my opinion, guys, like if anybody ever blames you for being transparent and just honest about how things are going and where you are and what you're struggling with, well, that's on them. You know, I mean, I don't think you can go wrong with that personally. So you know, that's just me. So thanks for recognizing that, you know, we're willing to get on here and tell you that, hey, we grew really, really fast and there's a couple of things we need to go up and shore up, right?
And
You know,
yeah, it's transparency at the end of the day. And I remember that conversation, and I remember you talking to me before you went in there, and I was just like, you know what? Just tell them how it is. Like, we got nothing to hide. I can honestly say that if I try to hide something, it's always come back and bit me in the ass. But if I'm just honest and transparent about what's actually going on, it breaks down this wall, this like defense wall of just like, wow, this guy just showed me his underbelly, and he's struggling, he's trying his best, and he's hit a couple roadblocks, and I've been in that position myself before. Let me help him out, because the things that
yeah,
he's experiencing right now aren't really problems. He just doesn't know the right people. I, I just kind of softballed my the mastermind event this weekend. I was like, that's why you do this kind of stuff, is because you meet these kinds of people that can help you in those exact scenarios. But yeah,
yeah,
it'll never hurt you.
yeah. And guys, like talking about the mastermind this weekend, and I'll give him a shout out, right? Mike Ely's going to be there.
Oh yeah.
I can't tell you how many Mike, I'm struggling phone calls I've had with Mike. Like I'm
Hmm.
struggling with this, I'm struggling with that. When I was trying to make a when I thought my path towards leaving my W-2 was going to get seriously detoured, I called Mike and I had a conversation with him, and he was like, I'm hey, excuse the phrase, guys, excuse the language, but he was like, man, fuck that, you got this.
Hmm.
Like that's literally, he was like, and sometimes it's just hearing somebody else say it to you when you've been completely open with them. That's all I needed. Like I
Yeah.
left that conversation like, you know what, he's right. I do got this.
Hmm.
So you know, having those kind of conversations with people, man, it's just amazing. You know what they're willing to kind of say to you, and it's kind of a crazy what people will open up and show you. You know, like we talked about Vince and that conversation that was going on to my left at dinner. You know, Chris basically just said, "Hey, man, what do you got in place or whatever?" And Vince just took out his phone. He's like, "Here, let me show you." And it's like he showed him everything. You know,
Hmm.
it's really really cool how this community will kind of reach out and help each other if you just go out there and ask the question or just what do you call it, Tim? You talk about your superpower and your weakness, right?
That's right. Your puzzle
Um,
piece. You got to let everybody know your puzzle piece.
yeah, like like the first week of our mastermind, week one is what's your superpower? What do you struggle with, basically? And that honesty just kind of really helps everybody in the room understand, and then we can all help each other out.
Yeah, you're
And
connecting immediately from day one with valuable and meaningful conversation, rather than, oh, everything's good. I'm gonna puff my chest like I know what I'm talking about. Wrong. If you knew everything already, you wouldn't be here in the first place.
yeah, um, man, that was one of the biggest things for me, man. I think it was sometime in my 20s or whatever. I had a boss, and he was just like, "Man, just tell me what you can't do." Like he's
Yeah,
like, "Tell me what you're struggling with." He's like, "I can't help you if you don't tell me."
that's right.
Um, and I was like, "Oh, wait a minute! I don't have to show up acting like I know everything." I was like,
That's right.
"Oh, wow."
Oh, light bulb.
Bing.
Bing.
So,
Well, good. All right, guys. Well, that's all the time we got for today. Appreciate you joining. And looking forward to everybody that's on the call that's going to be at the mastermind event this weekend. Again, we got one ticket left, so go snatch it if you're interested in going. Um, Otherwise, we will see you next Tuesday. See you later.
all right, guys. See ya.